Hello everyone, this is seller newsletter number 3 for the Little Britches Fall 2022 sale. Let's jump right in. Okay, how do you get paid? So payments typically will reach you within about a week of the sale. However, that we ask that you allow about 3 weeks just because we have had situations where money gets tied up transferring to PayPal or money gets tied up transferring to the bank, things like that. So just be aware that things can happen that are out of our control, but it is our goal to get you paid as quickly as possible. I can tell you that's a huge step in me wrapping up the sale, so please believe me when I say that I am very motivated to get you paid very quickly. So you have 2 payment options. Our default is check, so if you do not tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume you want a check mailed to you. And that is a perfectly fine option. If you're wanting a check, you don't need to do anything. Just double check, make sure your address in your consignor workstation is current, because if it's not, the check's going to get sent to the wrong address. Okay. The other option is PayPal. We actually do encourage this one for a few reasons. Honestly, the big one being that mail has been a little slow the last few sales, and all of the checks have arrived to my knowledge. You know, they get cashed and everything. But I know last sale we had at least one check that I want to say it was like 3 weeks that it took to arrive, and we had a couple others that I was told took several days to arrive. And so that's obviously something outside of my control. But so if you do not want to have to worry about it showing up, keep in mind if the check does get lost, either on its way to you or if you lose it, we do require that you pay that stop payment fee. It's just not feasible for us to cover all of those fees for lost checks. So for those reasons, as big part of the reasons, we do encourage you to consider the PayPal option. You do not have to have a PayPal account to accept this. We just need an email and it will send you a link that you can use to accept your payment. So the system we use does not take a payment out on your end. So if you have ever accepted money over PayPal, you know that if somebody pays you, unless it's a friend's family, which we can't do because we're a business, but if somebody pays you, you have to pay a fee on your end typically. The way we use through PayPal does everybody in one bulk, and it means that the fee comes out on our end, which we're good with that fee because of the headache it saves us when we pay through PayPal, okay? The one drawback to that method is that it is not as instant as if we did the one that charged you on your end, okay? We have to wait for money to actually transfer over into PayPal before we can pay you, which just adds a couple days to the process. Last year, I think it was the Friday after the sale that we were able to pay those, but then as soon as that money is in the account, I'm able to instantly pay those. So that's the big perk to those. So just be aware that sometimes the checks may arrive around the same time, but PayPal, you're not gonna be dealing with them being lost. You're gonna get it for sure as quickly as I'm able to pay you, okay? We're not gonna be relying on the mail to get it to you. There's a link in that email that you can use to sign up for PayPal. If you have signed up for PayPal in the past, I'm going to assume you still want to receive your money through PayPal unless you tell me to switch you back to check, okay? So if you're unsure, if you've already done it, the easiest thing honestly is just to go in and resubmit that PayPal request, because it's easier than me trying to look up if you have signed up in the past. All right, a few additional notes. First-time consignors especially, or if you haven't sold with us for a while, maybe you only sold our fall 2020 sale where we did online, please make sure that you visit our website, understand all the seller information. It is your responsibility per the seller agreement that you understand all of the requirements and expectations for the sale, okay? I give a link in the email that kind of gives you the starting page, and if you go through all of those, there's a little arrow at the bottom of every page. I know it's a lot of information and it can feel overwhelming. We also do have an option on Facebook in our Facebook registered consignors group. There are, blanking on what they're called, but they're basically little lessons, and I've kind of broken the same information up into smaller blurbs. If that makes more sense to you, that is also a way you can do it. You're able to kind of check off sections as you read them, which I know for people like me is satisfying, okay? But all that said, please don't hesitate to ask questions. I would always rather answer a question than have you show up that day and be super confused about what was expected of you. Okay, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. That's what I'm here for. All right, as you're tagging and getting your items in, one tip is to consider sorting your items first. So what I mean by that is if you have a boy and a girl and you're selling items from both of them, rather than having just one big pile. If instead you go through and sort by girls 4T, girls 5T, boys 24 month, boys 3T, you know, whatever. Because of the way that the system will remember those from the last item you entered, it can speed up the process for you. Once you get in there, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And also means on the back end, you're not going to have to resort those items. They're already going to be sorted and ready to go. So just a tip that I personally like to do. If you are bringing a very large number of items, so I know for people, if it's your first sale, you may be bringing a lot of stuff, okay? I highly recommend doing your item entry and tagging in chunks as long as we are not getting down to the wire, of course. The reason I say this is as from experience, my very first sale, I sold an incredible amount of stuff and I thought I'll get it all entered and then I'll get it all tagged. It was a nightmare because by the time I went to tag, as good as my descriptions would try to be on the tags, I would have trouble remembering what I meant to put on each one, and so I would end up with extra tags and tags that didn't match, and it was a nightmare. I recommend doing them in chunks if at all possible. If we do get down to the wire where you think you need to get all of your items entered before we shut down the system, of course, the priority is entering the items. But at this point, for example, if you're doing them this weekend, doing them in chunks is going to really save yourself a headache, okay? Speaking of tag descriptions, these are more important than you may realize. If you've worked the sale, you may kind of have an idea of how important these are, because what often happens is even if you use the correct paper, even if you've hung everything correctly, a tag will come loose from an item, okay? If I have a shirt and a tag that says shirt, I cannot pair those items together and know that I am giving the correct seller credit for that item. However, if I have one that says pink sparkle star shirt, and I have a tag, or if I have an item that's a pink shirt with a sparkly star on it, I know those go together. I can put them back together, get it out on the sales floor, hopefully get it sold for you. So please make sure you're giving good descriptions. Use that tag to highlight things about the item. So if it's a certain brand, a certain team, a certain character, sometimes people flipping through might swing past it, then they see Mickey Mouse and their kiddos obsessed with Mickey Mouse, and they might stop, take another look, and snag that item. Again, I can't say this enough, do not save items entry until the last minute. October 2nd at 10 p.m. is when we shut down our system for sure. However, there's always the possibility of having to shut it down before then if our items are just getting too large for what we can do in a successful sale. If it's looking like we're going to shut down early, I had a question about this. I will not just do it out of nowhere. I will give you a heads up, which is 5,000 items. I'll tell you when we have space for 5,000 more items, which typically means that we'll have about a day's worth of warning, okay? So don't panic. I can't tell you this early on and predict it because it's too unpredictable at this point, but be prepared that items entry could shut down early because last sale we got very big again, okay? All right, last thing. I actually took a pick my son up, so I've got to fly through this. Volunteer spots are now open. So if you do not know, you shop at 6:30 for the pre-sale. Volunteers shop at 5:30. So if you want to be able to snag stuff before even the sellers, volunteers where it's at, okay? This will also help you get used to the sale, get to know the sale. A well-staffed sale is going to sell your items better. So really consider volunteering. If you have any questions about that, let me know. You can sign up through your consignor workstation if you are interested in doing that. Make your drop-off appointments, make your pickup appointments. Remember when you're dropping off, when you're choosing that appointment, allow to spend 30 to 45 minutes dropping off your items. Make sure you make a pickup appointment unless you're donating all of your unsold items, which, definitely consider donating your unsold items. Those go to some really wonderful organizations that stay in our community. Let me know if you have any questions about that. All right, sorry I had to rush through the end, but I wanted to get this done so I could get it out to you today. And please let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully I hit everything, and happy tagging.